Hi everyone, I'm Ariana Cafone and I'm an operations nerd. For over a decade, I worked in a ton of aspects of operations as a chief operating officer, a VP of operations, as well as a creative technologist. Now, I adore operations to be able to do my work. Maybe you are an operator as well, and you're saying, yeah, operations is the best. Or maybe you're thinking, what is operations? Don't worry, today I'm going to talk you through what that is. For your knowledge, I've been keeping busy these days as a fractional chief operating officer, working with a variety of global clients to build their operations. I'm also the host of the podcast Secret Ops, which uncovers the world of operations with operational experts across industries. And I'm also a part of the Coda Expert program that essentially takes Coda newbies and helps to translate their business needs into a Coda ecosystem. So the Coda team asked me if I could talk about Coda AI and operations. I said, totally, with the caveat that I need to talk about the adoption of technology before I can really show some examples. Because this, I think, is the crux of AI at the moment, which is how do I adopt it into what I'm doing? Coda team said, sure, go for it. And I said, great. So we're going to start with a little bit about my story. Back in 2018, I was a creative technologist. And what that meant is I would learn all of the emerging technologies. I would translate that into educational content. And then I would fly around the world presenting about that emerging technology to different businesses so that they could understand how the technology applied within their business and in their industry. Now, this included technology like blockchain, cybersecurity, what is an API, software as a service, as well as artificial intelligence, machine learning, what is a model. Now, I worked with technologists, with data scientists. I had to be in the know with emerging technologies, yet adopting it into my own life, I was so resistant. I just couldn't do it. And you might find yourself in the same position where it's like, I know I could use this, but I just am not sure how to get there. And I resisted it from 2018, 2019, 2020, 2021. Into 2022, I was forced to start to deal with it because it was everywhere. I couldn't not look at it or try it. My poor husband, he would show me ChatGPT, trying to get me into it, and I just was not having it. And I was trying to think, I, out of everybody in the world, should really be into this. And what is this resistance I feel? Stephen King, for me, summarized it beautifully. He said, resistance to change is proportional to how much the future might be altered by any given act. And AI is going to change and is changing everything. It's overwhelming and exciting, daunting and thrilling. It's all of these feelings, but it's very hard to jump on board when you honestly have this paralysis of where do I begin? So for me, I began with this little guy. So Luigi is our 3-year-old mini golden doodle, clearly the apple of our eyes. And if you have a pet or if you have a little being in your life, nothing is more inspiring than doing fun stuff about them. And when I learned that AI could generate images of him and paintings and cool things that didn't exist within this world, I jumped on that bandwagon. And here we've got, Luigi in a flower field, Luigi in a beret, King Luigi, Luigi astronaut. I mean, this was so fun. And I think that's part of adopting technologies. You've got to kind of get that entry point in something that's fun and enjoyable. Because then after I started to, dip into Luigi, then I started to say, all right, let me go to ChatGPT. Then it wrote an article in a minute and a half from me. And I said, oh my God, this is going to change everything. I started to actually figure out how it could apply within my world. And this is when we got to talk about the Dunning-Kruger effect. So you've got your confidence and you've got your competence. So when you know nothing, you can have a very high level of confidence, and then gets you to peak of Mount Stupid, which is definitely where I was. I was just amped and I was so excited, but quickly I fell into the valley of despair because in my brain I saw all these ways and I was like, let's automate everything, please. And then when I tried to apply it, I was like, where do I even start? Where do I actually begin in my work, in my life as an operator? So today, my goal is to get you into a new area that I have coined, which is the hill of clarity. I cannot promise enlightenment in 10 minutes, but I can get you some clarity, especially on how to apply it in different ways than you maybe are applying it today. The best way that I know how to do that is to talk about some case studies in my world to help you understand needs and how you could use Coda AI to do that. First, let me talk about operations. If you're an operator, this is something that you know. If you don't know what operations is, the best way I've been able to describe operations, it's a fusion of people, process, and technology fueled by data. If those are just words and you're like, what does that actually mean? You could think of operations as the super glue between functions or the connective tissue across the business. My favorite though is I think that we are the peanut butter to the jellies strategy, where we make everything sticky and yummy and bring the whole sandwich together. So when you think about AI in operations, the common use cases that we know today are generating content, summarizing meetings from transcripts, or of course imagery creation. But some ideas that I would like for you to try in the future is, what if we could clean data with AI? Or what about industry research? Could we quicken that process? Or what about global team communications in real time? Now, before we dip into the case studies, you got to know Coda AI functions as of today. This is changing and they're going to be giving us a ton more tools. But as of today, we've got 3 main functions. The AI assistant, which essentially is our fairy godmother. You ask for a thing and then it renders it. It's not perfect, but it really does a good job getting you started really quickly. Then you've got AI column, which essentially you're in a table, in a column, you can ask it to do something that you need. This is great for formulas, categorization, and I will show you some examples in the future. And then we've got AI block, where essentially you can store an AI prompt as a variable and combine prompts together so that you can reference it in different places. I'm going to show you how all of these can be applied within business contexts in 3 different case studies. So the first one is the case of dirty data. All of us are dealing with data on a daily basis. Most of it is dirty and we spend a lot of time cleaning it. I had a client, a very popular human being. She had tons of contacts and I had to move them from one platform into Coda. And in doing that, realized how dirty the contact data actually was. And I mean, you can spend hours cleaning this data. And I thought, could I use Coda AI to make that process faster for myself? Specifically, I was thinking, all right, from a naming convention, could I just get a consistent naming convention? And then the other thing that was very important to my client is with the phone numbers for these contacts that are global phone numbers, could we make it so that when you click a button, you could call that phone number? So that meant, all right, how do we consistently format those phone numbers, right? All these pieces are starting to come together. So what I've done for y'all is I've created the AI execution that I'm going to walk you through in this demo. And then of course you've got this document that you can duplicate and you can try it yourself. So here's how this goes. We're going to put the dirty data into a table. Gross. Ugh, dirty data, which I've done for this demo. So we've got names in the raw form and you've got to see they're just a mess. Then we've also got phone numbers. Again, they're a mess. I also created a column for cleaning this data so we can see it, and for a phone number for cleaning this information. Now, these commands here, really, I just tried different things to get there. So you can totally copy and paste this, but you can also just try different prompts to test and see what works. Again, we're still in this learning phase with AI, so a lot of it is going to generate different things, and the more specific you can get, just like with Googling, the more that you can get the right information that you need. So in this case, I asked AI to clean up the names to be a first and last name in a consistent format. So like, kind of natural language. What you do is you go into the top of the column, you do the drop down, and when you go to AI, this is where you paste that command. So I'm just going to copy and paste. And then what you want to do is just make sure that you're referencing the column that you want to clean. So in this case, I want to clean names. Clean up names to be first and last name in a consistent format. And then you can change things, like in this case, I only want it to be text. I want the tone to be neutral. We'll see what it does with length. And then, I don't want that. Let's just see. I want 1 or 2 words. Let's see if that does the trick. So you'll see here I get a preview that then can help us see what this command is going to do before we fill columns. This is really great, again, if you've got a lot of data, to see it before you then render it. So let's fill. And you're going to see it does a pretty good job. So interesting, AI is like, I cannot do this one. But all of the other ones, it does a pretty great job with it. It kind of does some weird stuff here. So again, this is a trial and error thing, but in general, this can really help us expedite some data cleaning, where we're just double checking. We're not actually going in and having to clean everything ourselves. Now, the next thing that I wanted to do was, again, get this consistent convention for a phone number. We've got UK phone numbers, we've got US phone numbers. Like, what do we do? I know that to call a phone number, I have to add tel : plus at the beginning. So I was like, all right, what if I remove all the spaces and then add this at the beginning? Like, would that work? So I'm just gonna, again, take that command. This is something that you would go into the AI column and then remove all spaces from phone with a tel at the front and make a number. And then we get a preview here. Let's see. So I did a pretty darn good job. So now, actually 100% good job, better than the names. So now I've got this in a consistent format. I can use Coda button to, if you see here, open a hyperlink, phone clean, call, so that when I press the button, it'll call that person. Now, these are all fake phone numbers. I didn't think I was gonna put real numbers in here, but I have tested it and it does call, which is a really easy, simple solution. So this is not a sexy use case with dirty data, but it is something that I think we all could use almost on a daily basis. So in the future, think about how you could use dirty data to get cleaned with Coda AI, and you might save some time and get some great use cases out of it. So let's move on to our next demo here, which is a metrics library. So as a fractional chief operating officer, I am building goals with my clients all day long. Operations is only good as the goals that we've got. Otherwise, we're just building systems without a North Star. My favorite framework to do that in is objectives and key results. So objectives are what do you want to achieve? Key results are how do you measure that progress? And then we attach metrics to those key results so that we can quantify our progress. I was working with a client. We were doing a great job. Objectives, key results, easily getting articulated. But when it came to metrics, it was such a new way of thinking about goals that it was hard to even know, like, what metrics do I have available to me? Like, what could we use to quantify? And this is where in earlier days, I would have gone and done research and I would have, pick the top 50 list of metrics. It's like, but you know what? Could I just expedite this process and use Coda AI to generate a metrics library so that I could give my client some options? So I gave it a try. Again, I've got the execution here for you. So we're going to create a table with the AI assistant, and then I'm going to do some AI column work to quantify those metrics. So again, I'm just going to copy and paste this because I am lovingly lazy. We're going to do a / command here, and you're going to see the AI assistant is the first thing that comes up. And then I'm just going to copy and paste this. Write a table with top 20 metrics for a leadership team, and when we hit create, you'll see it starts to generate that table. Cool. And then it asks me if I want to change it or do other things, and I'm good for now. But this is an amazing kind of step forward. You could also, drill this down even more. What are the top 20 metrics for a finance team, for a sales team, for a market? I mean, you get it. But this immediately gives me a foundation to build on. Then I was like, what if we essentially categorize this? Because if I really want to do maybe not top 20, but a top 100 metrics, maybe I'll want my client to be able to filter by the category. So is it a finance metric? Is it a sales metric? And so I used, again, Coda AI, and then I just said, hey, let's categorize the metric with either financial, sales, marketing people, product, or people. Let's just see how it does. So we've got like one wonky one here, but all the other one, it nails it, right? So this then saves me a lot of time. And if I do category, right, awesome, then I can make it a drop down, a select list. So now it becomes something that you can filter, or you could even summarize in total how many for each. So this is exciting. This then makes it easier for me and easier for my client to digest this information. But I wanted to take it a step further. Could I quantify the effectiveness of the metric? So let's see. What I did was I created a slider scale, which I'm just going to say effectiveness. Awesome. And then I'm going to, again, go to Coda AI. I'm going to copy and paste it. And then I'm going to say rank the at metric. And then we're going to fill it. So now all of a sudden we've got these ratings. Cool. All right. My immediate next question is, all right, AI, how did you get these ratings? So let's ask it. Give me the reasoning behind the metrics. So we're going to do a text field. We'll just say reasoning. And then again, use AI. So this is, again, just a shorthand for how to do this. And this is when you can start to compound. So I'm going to say, why is it given at metric at effectiveness rating? Okay, and then it can give me a description. All right, so the interesting part is these are big, broad strokes and ideas, but very quickly I can spin up a prototype of what I was thinking, and then I can add to it and refine it. And I think this is a big part about AI, especially within Coda, is how can I easily prototype my idea within a space quickly? It doesn't have to be perfect, but what can I show my client quickly to get them to where I want them to be mentally about something? Now, let's talk about the last case study, global stakeholders. Now, you might work on a global team. I work with a global team. And in this case, monthly with this team, I would have to provide stakeholder updates. And if you've ever had to do that, it's sort of this thing of like, yeah, it'll take no time. And then every month it sort of takes longer than you want it to be. And then by the time you do the monthly update, then you're on the next update. And it becomes this like cycle of like, I'm constantly doing these updates. So was there a way that we could quickly and easily create stakeholder updates without having to spend a lot of time monthly to do it? And then in translation, could we translate this in real time to different languages? Because most of our stakeholders, English is not their first language. So could we translate it natively into their language also to lessen the cognitive load, right? If they can read it in their language, it just makes their day easier and more adaptable. So this one is a little bit more intense. I'm gonna walk you through this one, but of course you've got this in the document that you can see and share. Here is what this looks like. You can see we did Mandarin. I'm gonna go back to English. But you pick a date range and then you can get the highlights, the lowlights, and then support needed, as well as the team workload. So if you are doing updates for the team on a regular basis, you're probably like, how are you doing this? And of course, it always starts with the data. So let me show you the data. Very simple table. We've got a date, we've got a team, we got the workload, and we've got these very basic questions. Would take maybe 3 to 5 minutes a week to submit this. And then of course we can get metrics on a weekly basis, which is always really helpful for us. So the one thing I needed though is I needed to get the week of this date. I wanted the Monday of the date that things are submitted. And you can see that they're submitted on different dates. In the past, I would have had to do some crazy Coda formula and like looked it up and, but I was like, could I use AI to get the Monday from the date? And I did. What is the Monday from the week of this date? And then it renders for me. Ta-da! Very exciting. Truly, what would take me longer than I care to admit took me 10 seconds, right? And now I'm able to group it and sort it by the week date, the start of the week. So we've got the data, we're ready to roll. Next up, we create the submission area. So if you have not done a submission form before, you can take a table and then you can create an easy form to submit. So on a weekly basis, the team lead would pop on here, enter their information really quick, and then it would go into that table. Now, let's get into the AI land. Global stakeholders. So a couple things. The first thing I had to do was create a filter from that table so that we could filter it by different date ranges. So stakeholders could pick and choose. They could go in the past and they could see updates. They could stay now or they could go in the future. I'm just kidding. Future's not here yet. Then I had to do is I had to create a select dropdown. So if you do /select, This allows you to create a drop down that you can create different values. And this is exactly what I did here. I wanted to create a language drop down that then you could add different selectable items into. Now, when you push to update, you're going to see that essentially it's a refresh assistant. So it's forcing the data or the prompts to update in real time. And this just allows us to do it faster. Now, this is where we get into Coda AI block territory. So if you right click, you're going to see the prompt that I put in there. And I said, summarize, check in weekly highlight. So I'm taking the table and the column in 7 main updates as bullet points in the language that's selected. So to get there, just to show you, we're just going to do block, and you're going to see the AI block option. So this is how I got to this little blue square so that I could add the prompt in it. I did the same thing for lowlights, except I want to pick that column. And again, choose that name language selection. Same thing for support needed. Change the prompt, summarize this, awesome. So this becomes a real-time update. Anybody could get updates at any time as long as we've got the inputs there. And the cool thing is it really does update quickly. So the team that I work with, most of their first language is Arabic. Now the alignment is off. Granted, we'll have to do some styling. But again, possibilities are kind of endless here. Now we don't have to translate. We can lean on AI to help us with these translations. You can see it just does it real time. So for the time you're reading these updates, now we're getting into lowlights. But this takes it even a step further, because when we're onboarding new team members, their first language may not be any of the things on this list. So how do we navigate that? So let's say I have a new team member and their first language is Italian. If you update it, again, we didn't do anything. We didn't do translations, but now we've got Italian being updated. You can read it in Italian. So these are some really interesting use cases in the future that will allow us to act more globally, but also save us a ton of time in not only communicating with our teams, but keeping them up to date on what's going on. So I want you to walk away with some key takeaways, 5 of them for you. First one is operations is everywhere, and it's super cool. If people, process, technology, or data is involved, so is operations in some capacity. If you're interested in learning more about operations, you should check out my podcast, Secret Ops. Next thing is, Coda AI really is all about the data. Like I said, it's not a sexy use case to clean data with AI, but I feel like if you are dealing with it, this could be a great everyday time saver to be able to use Coda AI to clean your data quickly. Next thing is, you've got to learn the rules to break the rules. If you don't know the rules, you don't know how to play in them. And if you understand how the AI assistant, AI column, AI block functions, then you can start to get creative about the different ways that you're using them. The other thing is, when it comes to Coda AI, the compound effect is really where it becomes most effective. If you've got multiple inputs from a table, from a page, from a select list, then you get more value back, like in this example. And last but not least, creativity is key. Coda AI requires you to be creative, and you have to think of Coda AI or Coda as your canvas and AI as your paintbrush. You know, what can you create if you think outside the box? Sky's the limit right now, and it's going to be that way for quite some time. Now, if you are like, whoa, Ariana, that was a lot, but I'm really interested in hearing about more, you could check out my work at arianacafone.com. You can see my work and how I try and approach operations. Also, we've got the Secret Ops podcast and community. So if you go to secret-ops.com, you can listen to the podcast, learn about operations, and get some tips on how to be an operator yourself. Thank you so much. Keep me in touch with how you're using Coda AI, and have an absolutely beautiful day.